So welcome back, sailing fans. It's Friday the 19th and it's the third race. It's the resale of the third race, which was a non-sale because of that extremely tough day that Gary decided it was safer to bring them ashore. That's when they all got smashed up, funnily enough.
6 broken rigs, that was the story of the day, wasn't it?
So this is the carbon copy. So today is totally different. We've got a really light variable easterly by the look, but we'll talk about that later. So yesterday, Rag, another bullet. And we spoke to him before we went out, and he said he can't afford to have any more dud days, but two wins in a row. I mean, he's going well, wasn't he?
On fire, weren't they? And they didn't just win, they won by 3.5 minutes. That might be the biggest delta, or certainly the biggest delta we've seen in a couple of years, maybe the biggest delta ever. They were just on the horizon, weren't they?
Yep. So the discard comes into play today, doesn't it, Mark?
After today's
race. It's going to be anybody's race. There's a good chance we'll be on course 6, that windward lure that Gary will set up, and but we'll know more when we get out there. Let's go and talk to a couple of the guys.
Sounds a good plan. So I'm with Howie Hamlin, fresh out of the States. Howie, you won this event back in 2002, is that right?
That's correct.
And has it changed since then?
How's it changed?
Yeah, how's the class changed?
Gotten more competitive. I think there's more people sailing the boats that have been sailing them longer, and the technology's advanced, and everybody gets pushed harder, and so it gets tougher.
Yeah, and do you feel that, I mean, why are we not seeing more American boats here? We in past years, we've had a few more. You've made it the last couple of years for sure. Is it just there isn't anything but skiff class there, or is it too far to travel, or what's going on?
Well, certainly we're going through a pretty major recession in the United States now, and I think that's set everybody back a couple of years. I know for me, I wanted to build a new boat a couple of years ago, and I panicked when the world looked like it was coming to an end. But, so that's probably a big part of it.
Now, I know that as well as being a multiple dinghy champion, you're also something of a helicopter pilot. So if you had the choice of going sailing today, JJ Giltinan, nice day, 10 knots of breeze, competitive fleet, or firing up your Robinson 44, which would you take?
I'd go do both. I'd go sailing in the morning and then flying in the afternoon.
And do you think there's a correlation between helicopter skills and sailing one of these boats quickly?
Oh, sure. It's eye-hand coordination and planning and thinking ahead and communication. So yeah, they're not that different.
And from where you're in the fleet, we've seen you I think early on you had a disappointing race, and since then a couple of times you've been right up with some of the front runners, so you've had a good look at probably all parts of the fleet. Where is your money? Who do you think's actually going to win this regatta? Who can bring it to the end?
Oh boy, that'd be hard to pick right now. You know, there's 3 really good boats that are battling away, so I wouldn't put my money on anyone yet.
Well, we'll see what happens. Howie, thanks for talking to us, and the best of luck in this regatta.
Thank you.
So I'm here with Ian Murray. That will be a name familiar to anyone that walks through this yacht club, because your picture's all over it, isn't it, Ian? And I think you opened the club and the word legend comes to mind, but you won this event a bunch of times, too many to remember almost, several years ago. What's changed in this class? How different is it now? And if you were actually in your prime in this particular fleet, how do you think things would be?
Look, I think since my day in the class has become one design. It's probably the single biggest change. So, we had the freedom of designing our own boats, building our own boats, and a lot more freedom with the rigs and bits and pieces. So, for an adventurous young guy that I was 30 years ago, we came up with a lot of different things, and then the fleet gradually became more similar, and the introduction of carbon fibres and bits and pieces. So I think the big development really in the last 10 years has been the rigs and the sails, and there's been tremendous sort of change in the spinnaker shapes of materials, the carbon fibre masts and all those things, and all of those things are significant improvements in the speed of the boat.
So it's a faster boat now, and maybe a more reliable boat.
Yeah, look, the boats are, I think, a lot more consistent. Everyone's in similar equipment up the front end of the fleet. The racing, I think, is as tight as it's ever been. So, that all goes well for, and the fleet's expanding. So
yeah, it's a success story, isn't it? That's for sure. It's quite unique in world sailing. Now, one question I wanted to ask you was that. You actually set this team up, didn't you, a few years ago? And the guy who has been the original coach is Andrew Palfrey, your crew in the Star for your Olympic campaign.
Yeah.
And I know that Dog has been a very regular coach and one of the most consistent coaches with this particular boat. You kind of taken over him this week, haven't you?
Look, Andrew's moved on and moved overseas, and this team is my involvement with Channel 7 goes back to my days. 33 years ago, and I've had a consistent, regular involvement with them right through that period of time, through all my Stiffs, America's Cups, whatever endeavour I've been chasing, they've always supported me, and that has rolled on into, got a Love at 7 over the last 4 years and our Olympic campaign. So, yeah, I've always been at the base of this arrangement.
Right.
So it's my responsibility to step up to the plate.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, in your day, of course, there weren't coaches. Coaching is a relatively new thing in sailing. These days, there seem to be coaches all over the place, and certainly this particular boat, Seven's, had a lot of coaching. Definitely, without any question, it's helped them. They're great performers in all sorts of conditions. What I wanted to ask you, though, was what's the point at which coaching becomes too much coaching? What's the point at which you have to let the sailors do their thing, and how much can you actually help them prepare and plan, and how much you have to just let them do their thing?
Well, look, coaching it's right through the sport now, and as you say, it wasn't there, it didn't exist. My coach was my helper, who was my father, and helped us prepare the boats, and he was a sanity check for most things we wanted to do. But now, we not only, the coaching or the people assisting in the campaign provide the help and the mentoring, but it goes out onto the water, and it's, like the technology and the sails and bits and pieces, we have the digital cameras, the analysing, but in the end of the day, it's what you see on the water. It's the depth of the sails, the twist profile, the balance of the boat, how they're sailing the boat, the angle of heel. It's getting all of those things coordinated, and then of course there's the physics of sailing the boat and the crew movement, coordination, and the mark roundings and all of that. All of those things to make a winning team in this class or any other class, it's important to get them right. And having, I guess myself, of having the benefit of recently being in the Olympics, the standard that's required to perform at the highest level. So I think that's what out there. The Olympics has set the standard, the America's Cup, in terms of assistance on the water, and the perfection as these sailors get smarter and more educated it's demanded.
But ultimately, I guess, eventually these boats do their dock out in about 15 minutes, they go on the water, and then it's down to them. The best sailor wins.
They're on their own. They've got to figure the start out, they've got to figure their tactics out, they've got to master the conditions, they've got to look for the water, the placement on the boats, the strategy, that is set before the start, the tactics that apply during the race relative to the other boats, where they race in the fleet. It's all there.
We've got to bring it all together. So, would you like to be sailing today?
Oh, look, I'd love to be sailing these boats. I think all the people who've sailed these boats love these boats. We all feel they're probably the best sailing boats in the world. They're intimate with the water, and the desire doesn't go away. It's just the physics that.
Well, it's good to talk to you, and good to see that you're so closely involved with this boat, and I'm sure they're going to perform well today. Thank you, Ian Murray, for talking to us.
Thanks.
So we're out on the water, and there's been quite a delay here. Gary Lineker has had some real problems getting a line set. Very light, fluky out here. The breeze, he's putting us on a course 6, which is going to take us up into Watson's Bay, and he's got 3 laps, and I think that's a good call, Mark.
Yeah, you wouldn't want any more than 3 laps, would you? Up to our 5-minute gun. Yeah, it's light and tricky. It's probably an average of 4 to 5 knots, but lots of puffs, lots of shifts. This is one of those eyes out the boat day.
Yep. And Rag knows fully that he can't afford to have a bad race, meaning that he doesn't want to finish outside 4, or all his good work with his 2 bullets. Probably won't help him in the end, but it's a bit early. This is the rerun of race 2 or 3, was it? Race 3.
Race 3, the one that was blown off because it was howling. Today it's not howling at all, is it? Today, though, it feels to me like the kind of day that you can't really win the JJ because of today, but you can definitely lose it today.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I think there'll be a lot of people just very happy with anything in the top 6. The kind of day you could win, but you could easily come 26th. And out of our main contenders, our top 4, who have got a bit of a break on the rest of the fleet, they will be looking at each other and covering each other. You can be sure of that, because they just don't want to be out of that leading group.
So we're going to get down that leeward end, the pin end, right in front of us, and we think this is going to be highly fancied down here. we've got the time, so I'll get down here and come back to you inside a minute and see how they're racking up. 1 minute to go, and looking up the line, gotta love it. Sevy likes that boat end. He's wanting to make that. Here's Pure Blonde's the one that wants to claim this leeward pin, you'd think. He's the furthest down here. And Johnny winning in the Yandu. Somebody's getting underneath Pure Blonde. He's got his bow in there. It's Bruce Savage. Benny starting to put his nose up into that.
And there's Harry Hamlin right on the line, very much advanced, isn't he? He's already on the line now. And
he's got nowhere to go.
30 seconds to go. He's going to drag the whole fleet over, or we're going to have to ignore him. He's now OCS. We can see got a very good line sight there. Simon, the cameraman, got it nicely lined up. So we know there's one over. That's pretty clear. There's about 15 seconds to go. Sevy's trying to get that on 7. You can see trying to get in the committee boat, but looking like she might be a bit locked out on the ley line. Here comes a group down this end at Sydney Football Stadium. She's going to be a couple seconds early. This could be a general. And gun goes now.
SFS is over. Probably Bruce Savage would think that's a general. Hard to tell. We can't hear the horn down here. Reckon.
Only 2, I think. Maybe only 2 guns. We might just one individual recall here. So there goes Rob Greenhouse
going back. Oh.
So he's pretty clear, he was over. So he's gone back. This looks like it's actually a start. Asco's gone back as well, but everyone else looked like they're racing. Here comes Sydney Football Stadium. They're going to go back as well.
They were definitely over.
There we go, we saw then, didn't we?
Where's Howie? Howie's coming back.
Harry's over by country mile. So it's very light airs, Jocelyn. You can see there's not a lot happening.
Sevy's still racing out there.
Yeah, we're pretty sure this actually is a race. We're a little bit too far away to actually have heard the hooter. That's why we're not 100% certain that this is a start, but that looks like it is a start. Pretty sure we're off and running now. Look at the left end of the line. We said before, Bob, we like this end of the line.
Yeah, it went back the other way.
Surprised that more of the main contenders weren't down here, but all the main contenders have gone the other way. Maybe they're just all staying with each other. So the Sevy, who's hard right, Budgie's up to windward of him, looking in extremely good shape early on.
And Budgie's looking good there too.
Yeah, that's Budgie in great shape, probably leading that group. And there's Thurlow Fisher, which is Michael Coxon. We can just see just to the right of 7 as the camera looks through there, and to the left, Rag and Famish. They're our usual top 4, and they're all in the same piece of water.
Okay, so we're only about 5 or 6 minutes into this race, and Michael Coxon's in a bit deep trouble here, Mark. He's just tacked off, but he's well out of the first 10 going across to Milo.
Yeah, didn't have a good lane, did he? So he was in the right-hand group, but very much in the cheap seats of the right-hand group. But if we look out to the left here, Simon, you'll see the best people from the right-hand group. Well, there's Rag and Famish just tacked. She was definitely one of the best boats. And there's Project 1, Andy Budgeon. He was probably the leader of that group. And if you keep going further round, the hardest right boat is there 7. She was probably in 2nd or 3rd of this group, but she's decided to go all the way to the corner. The overall story, though, is there's one half of our fleet's gone hard right, and one half of our fleet's gone hard left, and the best of the left-hand boats is probably Slam, and there's just about nobody up the middle.
Yeah, there's Slam, and that looks like, is that Boatmate or Boatmate down there?
Yeah, well,
Johnny winning. So we'll have to wait till these 2 fleets come together to see who's doing the best. But
7's just tacked, so we've now got our most hard right boat is on starboard. She's got nice pressure, not fantastically good heading, but she's 3 stringing, which is always good news. And so that's the hard left. We just keep panning back to the right here, Simon. You'll better pick up the whole fleet, all in shot. And so there's Fisher and Pakel, and you'll see Panasonic, and if you keep coming around to the right, you'll keep coming round and round, Simon. Long way to go, come round. Here we go. There's our leader at the moment. We think the leader of this group was Andy Budgeon and Rag and Famish, but you keep panning harder right, way out to the left-hand side, the left-hand group.
Looks sensational.
We like the look of them, don't we? Don't want to say we picked it, but we did say the left end of the line and the left side of the beat. And at the moment of that group, it's Pure Blonde and Slam are looking at the 2 best boats. The Slam today has got Grant Rollisome, he of the groin injury, back on the helm, and he's got Hugh Stiles in the middle because his middleman Jack has got another undisclosed injury. I don't know what those 3 get up to in the evenings, but they must have a hell of a time in the career house.
Right, yeah.
Something or other. So the story for the moment is not a lot of action down the middle, but hard left. It's Slam, Pure Blonde, John Winning, and on the Yandu and Gill, they're the hard left boats, and the boats out to the right, the best of those are 7 and Budgie. We'll see how it develops up the beat.
we've just slid across the other side of the harbour to give you an idea of what slam Grant Rollison's looking at. And it's still hard to say, but underneath his boom you can see Gotta Love It is taking the stern of Budgie and who else is that over there, Mark? Is that Fisher and Pykle?
Budgie and Fisher and Pykle in there, and then Dragon Famisher in that group as well.
Now Slam's looking famous.
Yeah, a little bit of left, but she's actually not a million miles off laying. The mark is just a little bit up to windward. If they get any kind of pressure, get the bow up, they'll virtually lay this and they'll be a long way ahead. But the minute it goes soft, they put the bow down. Such is the separation that a 10 degree of shift at this much separation makes an enormous difference in distance. So you'd have to say at the moment Slam look like they're in the favoured position, but all it takes is a bit of a lull, and they have got to get across the middle of the harbour here. So far our two fleets are stuck to one side or the other, and the problem with that is at some point you've got to cross it. Now the fleet on the right hand side don't really have to cross the harbour because the buoy is on the right hand side. Slam here has got to get across at some point.
And it should be no surprise, Mark, that Appliances Online has gone furthest over that way, and he's on the high road from Manly to the mark. So
we saw
our Pirates.
We did see this a little bit, didn't we, on the practice race day, where the boats in similar conditions went so far left they actually had to reach back down to the mark. That proved to be a winning manoeuvre.
And just bringing up the rear to leeward of Slam is John Winning Sr. in the Yandu. He was one of those early leaders of that northern shore, so they're coming together quickly now, and I think it's turned around. Poor old Slam's got his bow down to these Budgie in the project and Gotta Love It, and that's Fisher and Pykle.
So the right hand group are looking good now, aren't they?
Yeah,
so Slam's lost that left hander which she was relying on to get her up to the mark. Now she's nowhere near laying, and the right hand boats, they haven't got a world of breeze, but they've got just enough, and they're virtually pointing at the mark there, pretty much on starboard ley line. So if the leader comes out of this group, it looks like it's between Budgie and Seven, and Budgie's in the advantage position at the moment, but not by a lot. Seven could easily squeeze through to leeward, and those of course are two of our overall leading boats. So it looks like it's going to be business as usual at the front of the fleet.
So we're just going behind Gotta Love It and Budgie. They're on each other's pockets here. Gotta Love It's just creeping up to leeward, giving Budgie some grief, and they're not laying. As you can see that can up there. Trevor Barnabas is a little bit higher. He's coming in a little bit more pressure now. Just get out of his road.
Battle for the lead very much so. Seven and Project One, and Seven is squeezing through, but of course she can't tack. If Budgie can just hold her off until she gets to the ley line, he's got every chance of leading into this mark. If Seven can force Budgie to tack early, then Seven is going to get round here first. So it's very much between these two at the moment. So the leaders did come out of the right hand group, but Slam, the hard left boat, hasn't done too badly, and Herman Winning, who went a little bit further left, he's come out of this looking quite nice as well. One of the losers in all this, Bob, has been Dragon Famish. She was one of the right-hand boats, but she decided to cross to the left halfway up the beach. She's ended up on the left-hand side, and she's not looking too pretty right now.
She might have one of those hard days of playing catch-up. She can't afford anything much worse than sixth, I would think.
So we can see the bit of the fight to this. So they've got to leave this mark, is this the starboard or port? It's
to port.
Port round, isn't it? So Budgie is stopping him tacking.
Holding him out.
Budgie's going to hold him and hold him. He's going to stop him tacking. He's got all the rights in the world. He can stay there all day long if he wants to. He can stay all day long. Budgie knows exactly what the rules are. Now he tacks.
Oh, he's got to get his bow out. And here comes Trevor Barnabas on starboard.
Will Trevor Barnabas get? I don't think Trevor will get to...
Sevy's in strife.
Sevy's in all sorts of trouble now. Budgie did that very nice. A little bit of match racing there. I think Sevy knew what was going on. There's not much he could do about it.
Trevor go? There's a protest. Trevor said protest. Who's going to do a spin here? Budgie's obliged. No, he's going straight into the chute.
Yeah, pretty marginal from Trevor. Budgie had completed his tack.
Protest project, he's advising.
Yeah. It was within 3 boat lengths, but to see whether Trevor decides he wants to go through with that one.
Sevy got really whacked there, so he's going straight into a jibe, I would think. No, he's going to follow them out. Colwell Banker. Next around, it's Evan Walker. So what does that put him into?
Puts him in fourth.
That's a good beat.
Fourth round here, then Slam, our hard left boat, goes round in 5th.
Very light on this mark.
Slam. Very light, isn't he? You wouldn't want to be in the port ley line coming in here, would you? But I'm afraid Smeg is, as is Gill. You'd want to be on the starboard ley line, that's for sure. A little bit of momentum in his light airs to get to this mark and do a bear away is a lot better than having to get
Smeg's got nowhere to get in there. That's a procession.
You're absolutely correct. Smeg's going to have to go to the back of this queue, isn't she? She's going to lose out an awful lot. There's no little gaps to get through here. Panasonic's got a bit on. I'm not sure Panasonic can actually get up to this mark. Maybe she'll just squeeze up.
Kennedy, the first of the Kiwis, I think.
She's squeezing and she's made it in the end. There's Coco in about 10th or 11th.
Ooh.
Got a bit of work to do. He's got 10th isn't good enough for him. He rolls straight into the jibe.
And Smeg finally found an alley and needs to get some speed up. He's got Herman breathing down his neck. Just accelerates out, so he can't get the jibe in. He's have to windward set. He's going to go. Why would you go in there?
They love the jibe sets, don't they, these lads? And Coco actually did best out of that lot. He managed to skirt inside 2 or 3 boats.
Thurlow, Gill, the Swedes in the Swedish Gill. Chris Skinner. It's all happening on these first 1 or 2 turn marks.
No sign of Rag and Famish. We can see Rag, she's on port, she's nowhere near getting around this buoy. She's going to need the mother of all comebacks, so she's going to get back into this. And you said before, Bob, Rag and Famish hasn't got a discard to give away. She's already done her discard, so she's got to get back into this.
Oh. They're in deep, but don't forget, that's how we didn't give Ewan McNichol any chance of coming back from that similar position in last year's last heat. And he kept crawling away and ended up jagging it on the last 200 metres. So a lot of golf left in this, but we've only got 3 laps. So by the time they get down the bottom, we've only got 2 laps. So Rag needs to get a wriggle on.
Yeah, Rag's going to have to choose a side here, isn't she? She can't follow the pack. They're going to have eyes out the boat. You'd suspect that, oh, she's gone for the jibe set. I thought she just might do a bear away set. She's got a lot of traffic in front of her.
Well, that's the wrap from the top mark. Doesn't get much closer than that. A lot of drama there. So we're out of here. We'll go down towards the bottom mark and see how this all unfolds.
Oh, it's a full park up here, Bob. We actually got Rob Greenhalgh's coming in. One of the back markers, unfortunately, but he's got full rights. All those boats with spinnakers aren't allowed to be there. They are windward boat. They're supposed to keep clear, and of course they can't. They're just parked on the mark.
He's just giving them a little bit of an insight into what should happen. But I think they're tangled now, aren't they?
Well, I just think they're all completely parked. They're all stationary, and I'm afraid for Rag and Famish, this could be the end of her J.J. GILTINAN Championship, because she's literally just stopped at the top mark. Now she finally gets going.
Still got a bow prodder to avoid.
Oh, and she spent another couple of minutes just parked up doing nothing. Rob Greenhalgh is completely locked out. He needs to get around the back of them and go around the mark. There, he eventually does it. Not going to be his favourite week. So it finally is over. That was a complete cluster, wasn't it? We'll see what happens. Can't be any more busy down the bottom mark. Let's try and make sense of it down there.
So down the bottom turn marks for the first time, and races tightened up again. The two boats, Project and Gotta Love It, had a nice little discussion up that top mark. Sevy's caught up again, and he's got him right in his sights, and Corbel Banker Sharks has done a great job here, Mark, hasn't he?
He's done very well. Trevor Barnabas unfortunately got the wrong side of the ley line here. There was a bit of a shift just after they jibed, and he was too far out to one side, so he's the loser of this group, because he did go round second. But Project's held it together. Seven's done a nice job down this run, and the Corbel Bankers certainly turning above their normal average cricket scores in this particular race. So that's our 1, 2, 3, and very light airs, as you can see on that rounding. It is just about 3 wiring, or maybe not, maybe it's 2 wiring. Light and tricky, and the key thing for this beat is to try and remember where on earth the pressure was last beat. And I think on the averages, it was the right-hand side, wasn't it?
Yep, right-hand side worked the first time. So off they go. Project leads them out to that.
Here comes Trevor Barnabas, just struggling to get to this mark. As I said, he got his ley line a bit wrong. So here comes the next boat, Fisher and Paykel. Trevor Barnabas.
Oh, just about stopped her there.
He will go round in 4th position. They got a bit of a break, the top 4, and guess who's in 5th? Michael Coxon. Great recovery from him. He was about 10th or 11th. He's picked off 5 on the way down this run.
Well, that was the crew, those 2 guys in the bow of that boat. Trent and Aaron Links were the crew that threaded the needle down that run last year.
On the same course, on the same conditions,
track, yeah.
Right. They know this well, so they go round in 5th, so that's doing their overall chances no harm. Unfortunately, Rag and Famish, who's won the last 2 races, as we were saying at the top mark, they were not in great shape. Well, at the moment, they haven't done a Houdini act down this run, and it's only a 3-lap race, this one, so by the time you get down here, you've only got 2 more of these short laps to go. So Rag and Famish are going to be looking for a miracle.
Unfortunately. So we're just going to button off here and watch some of this pack arrive, because bet your life it'll be on for young and old as all these boats try to get through this little gate here. So come back there shortly. It's another little tough little dice here with Slam and John Winning Senior. So just keep the camera rolling here. 3 of these boats are going to try and fit into that little gap, and Panasonic's probably going to run out of air the way these other guys have.
Yeah, I think John Winning's done quite a nice job of just rolling Slam there, and she'll have inside rights. So nice work from John Winning, and Slam's just going to have to yield and keep it nice and clean. Don't want to get involved in the protest so you can avoid it. So everyone's going for the left-hand mark as you look downwind. The right-hand mark, no takers at all. So that wasn't very tempting for anyone.
Any sign of Ray? Oh, there he is, behind the red chute of Howie Hamlin, I think it is.
Yeah, he's a long way back, I'm afraid. Several minutes behind the leaders, because our leaders are already disappearing up this beat. I think Rag is looking for a miracle. Anyway, we'll get up to the next mark and see how this next beat develops.
Yep. Back to you then. Here we go. So here's what we're probably just hung around for. All the boats converging through this little narrow gate, and the communication starts to heat up. A lot of shouting and suggesting where they should put their boats. Club Marine now, Heat 1 winner, looks like he's going to be the first taker for this other mark, if he can get some air to get around it. So here they come, the whole fleet arriving at the same time.
Yeah, that gate doesn't look really big enough for this group, Bob, does it?
It certainly doesn't.
You're definitely overlapped on both sides. It's nowhere near a 6 boat length gap, that's for sure. So overlaps become quite complicated to work out, to put it mildly.
There's a lot of suggestions there. Look at Gil trying to...
I've got to see Rob Greenhouse just look to your left there, Sam. You'll see he's made a huge recovery from where he was, and he's getting fully involved, which he likes to do, and he's pretty good at as well. And he's threading the needle completely through this particular gap.
And here comes Rag.
And here comes the Rag. Yeah, maybe this little cluster of boats will help him, because he can
knock a lot of places off here, couldn't he?
Yeah, he could slip through a lot, but unfortunately, it's crowded in there, isn't it? There's such a lack of air. All these boats just suck all the air out, and you end up with just a vacuum. And yeah, Rag probably did pretty nicely there. She's certainly not large. She probably picked up 5 or 6 boats there.
Yeah, and there's a big pile just in front of us. So go the Rag. You're going to get the race faces on here and stay calm. Anyway, that's how they sorted it out down here, and Herman coming in. I don't know where he went. Must have gone to the casino again.
Yeah, he's a man who can find a corner in a round circle, can't he?
Yeah. All right, we'll catch him halfway up the beat. We can see them. We've just got to get up to them. So here's our 2 leaders. Budgie led them round the bottom mark. And gotta love it's got the better of him. He just had a greater use of that shoreline, didn't he, Mark? He went in further and just passed Budgie before. Yeah,
pretty committed to the right-hand side. So you can see there's Nilsson Beach just there. There's a nice cafe. They serve good cappuccinos and a nice bit of banana bread in the morning there, Bob. And we're almost close enough to smell the coffee.
Budgie just got dropped out of that little bit of pressure he was in, and he's struggling to get underway again.
Yeah,
now he's away.
A little bit of chop on the corner, wasn't there? There's not a lot of breeze right in here. They all want this starboard ley line because it worked last time. And they're fighting tooth and nail for it. These two have extended up from the rest of the pack. I thought maybe this little dogfight here might have allowed Michael Coxon to creep up into them, but at the moment that's not really happening. Coco is in 5th. He's a little closer, but very close 3rd place between Fisher and Pakel and the Coldball Banker preview boat. And Coco is in a pretty solid 5th, but it's all about 7 and Project 1 and Andy Budgeon right now.
And it's very light and fluky out here. So we're only about 3 minutes further up the track than when we last saw you, and gotta love it. Has pulled some strings on this boat. He's just been able to pressure the rig up, Mark. If you look forward, Simon, you get there's 7, and they're pulling 3 strings, and Budgie's got 1 in the boat. Big James is sitting in, so don't know what he's done there. He's he's
a little bit in Budgie's there, and just developing a bit more power, and so he likes to sail the boat with a little bit of heel in his stuff. You can see him quite happily allowing the boat to heel. That gives him an awful lot more feel on the helm, which in this stuff is all good news. So you can see that that's a setup that's working well for them. They're pretty confident with that technique. Budgie's definitely hanging on to them. He's just slightly falling off to leeward, and it does look like he's got a bit of dirty air, but Budgie's trying to avoid too many short tacks here. I think he knows that if he tacks 7, he'll tack right on him anyway, so he's probably happy just to keep going the way he is. He's not really falling out of touch with 7, and he knows as long as he goes round the mark within a few boat lengths, he can attack them downwind.
Well, I've just got a feeling that Sevy, this is as comfortable as I've seen him throughout the regatta. He's got his nose in front, he's got good boat speed, and he needs to win a race. And I think he's like to think he can do this. He's only got to go down. It's all pretty plain sailing for them. They won't have too many problems with Budgie. Budgie will throw everything at them. But I think they've got the measure of him today if they just keep their nose clean. Remember, Budgie gave him a nice hole fixing up here last time, but the roles have been reversed, and I think you're going to go 7, will get around here, throw a chute on, and he will just take off. That's my tip.
And it's hard when they get to the top mark. That's exactly halfway through the course as Budgie is tacking off now. So we have got a long way to go still, but I know what you're saying, Bob. 7 do look pretty comfortable, very positive body language on board the boat, and they didn't bother slamming one right on Budgie there. They just waited till they found a nice little flat patch to tack on, and they've tacked over, so they're going to keep coming and make sure they own that starboard ley line. They don't want to have any issues with Budgie last time, but they're comfortably clear ahead, and they're looking like they're going to be first round windward mark for the second time. That's halfway through this race.
So this is our turn mark, Watson's Bay for the second time, and this, gotta love it, 7 is finding its straps today. He's got that, you can see Budgie, he's just crossed in front of him. He's going to have to let him clear him to get the chute on, but the chute's going up, jibe set, and Budgie's got another 2 tacks to do. 7's chute is full of air, and he will just open up a nice little break here. It's up to Budgie now to find some nice angles for himself to put some more heat on 7, but I've just got a feeling 7's heading home. He's got another beat to go. He's got to finish this run. He's got another beat and another run, but he's looking good, Marky.
Yeah, looking good, isn't he? So Budgie does 2 quick tacks. Did a pretty nice job there, actually, in these conditions. It's not an easy thing to do. Keep the boat moving, but they did pretty well. And he's going to hoist and roll straight into the jibe set as well. So there he goes. So he's got about a 50 to 60 metre deficit on 7, but it's the kind of day when there's gusts and little puffs and little shifts, and there's plenty of opportunities to catch up. So right now Project 1's in second, but I don't think this is over quite yet.
Well, it's all good for Budgie's little tally of points, isn't it? If he gets second today, which is looking pretty good for him.
Pretty nice, and brings 7 back into it too, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
I think unless Rag does the amazing recovery, which I think she's going to struggle with, I think Coco's position is going to be pretty important today. She was 5th. Coco was 5th coming up here, and I think he's somewhere between 4th and 5th. He might have even popped up to 4th. It's Fisher and Pakel. Trevor Barnabas having a good day in the light airs for him. He's going to be going around 3rd, and there's Coco just in camera now. Simon, I think you've got him in your sights just to the left of Fisher and Pakel, and very close between Coco and Caldwell Banker for the 5th position. Poor Trevor tacking just in the middle of some waves. He's virtually stationary, isn't he? Stopped just about. That wasn't great timing.
Oh boy.
And whilst he slowly gets, you can see how light it is. The minute you stop in these boats, these conditions, it's extremely hard to get some forward motion. So he's finally going to get the boat going. He'll tack round, but he has given up quite a lot of his lead just in that little section there. And behind him is Michael Coxon. You can probably just see he's about to tack over onto port, onto this port ley line. And he's going to be quite close to Caldwell Banker in the turquoise sailboat. That's going to be quite a good battle for 5th.
Yeah, well, unfortunately for Michael Coxon, he's got to do 2 tacks here, whereas Caldwell Banker Sharks is just romping in on starboard. They're going to lay, and oh, Trevor.
Coco got a bit of a lift and pressure just when he didn't really want it. They just lifted him up into Trevor. So that's mean he's
Trevor
increased the distance for Coco quite a lot, unfortunately. That lift on starboard just when he wanted to tack onto port is the opposite of really what he wanted, so that hasn't helped him. But there's Caldwell Banker goes around in 4th, Coco goes around in 5th, but I think Coco's sights, he's got, remember, the half of this race to go. He's definitely got both Caldwell Banker and Fisher and Pakel.
He needs them, doesn't he? He needs to get those 2 boats. So we'll just button off here now and watch Thurlow Fisher go around, and there's quite a bit of a gap now to the next boat, so I'll just turn the camera off and wait for the next, I think it's Johnny Winning Senior, but and Slam. Just wait for them to clear and we'll go and chase the leaders. So we've got the camera on Project and Fisher and Pakel, Trevor Barnabas for 2nd and 3rd, and bring the camera forward, Simon, and you'll get, gotta love it. They have just extended big time over those 2, and they're full light weather sailing. They've got a guy up, well, he's just come back off the bow. They're going into a jibe now, but they've got a massive lead now, mate.
Yeah, they have. They've extended well. They're sailing nicely. They got a bit of a lucky break when the little puff that they jibed around in right at the top mark stayed with them, and it wasn't there for the next two that came around. So Budgie's been caught up quite significantly by Fisher and Pakel, who's making a real proper race out of this. And in the meantime, Seven has extended, and Seven just jibes over just to do a bit of a loose covering. There's no point splitting too much at this stage of the race, but you're absolutely right. She extended nicely. She's probably got at least a minute or two lead, and she's 2/3 of the way down this run. At the end of this, it's just a beat and a run to finish. So she's probably hoping they'd finish this race down at this bottom mark. But of course, the JJ, there's no such thing as shortening courses. The course is what the course is. And as he goes to the left, there's Budgie got a bit of a puff on, just holding a bit of mail down there, isn't he? He's actually probably sucking back a lot of what he lost earlier on. He's got his own little puff.
And Sevy's got his bow up to him.
Yeah.
So he's really protecting himself from, he sees him as a real threat.
Yeah, it is that kind of day. You can lose what you win terribly quickly, and it all comes round. So you just don't want to give anyone too much separation, because you can't cover all sides. So you try not to give anyone too much leverage. And that's just what Seven's doing right now. I don't think they particularly want to go this way down the run, but they don't want to give Budgie a whole world of leverage. So they'll be very relieved to see Budgie jibe. They'll be setting up for their own covering jibe now, and they're all in the same piece of water, which will make them much more relaxed.
He wants to buy some more distance here, Sevy. That's reduced his lead big time, and Trevor Barnabas has jibed off way earlier than all of them, and he's got his nose, oh no, he's going back with them as well. So he's trying to bank some money out of that. I think he thinks he's going to be closer to them.
Yeah, right. So what Seven did have a lead of several hundred metres, now it's right down to about 4 or 5 boat lengths, and it's just about finding the puffs and staying in them, and getting a little bit of luck, but also eyes out the boat and spotting it. And I think there's a little bit of all that happening in the mix today. But this race isn't over, is it, by any means?
No fear in Cobblebanker Sharks. Straight down the middle of these two packs here. Sort of tightening up again. See at the bottom mark. Race starts again for mine. Well, who would have thought, Mark? We had Seven winning this by a country mile at one stage. That was only about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's all changed, isn't it? It is that kind of day. So Budgie's profited from a nice little bit of breeze just off Nielsen, and Seven got over there to cover. They did the right thing, but maybe they didn't do it quite soon enough. But anyway, they've stayed ahead. That's what they'll want. They'll be annoyed that they've lost that nice big buffer of a comfortable lead. But it's the kind of day you're never going to feel comfortable, in truth.
Yeah, but the big mover down there was Cobblebanker Sharks.
Yeah, she's right back in. She may be ahead of Fish and Pakel here, and there's Croco, the 5th boat. You'll see just popping out the back of these three. So this is our leading 5, the same 5, and they've probably extended on the rest of the pack. Our winner is going to come from one of these 5. I'm pretty sure about that.
Yeah.
Seven goes round first, round the mark, and there's our French photographer Christophe in the water, going for the drama photograph. Hope there aren't too many sharks in play today.
He's only got to worry about those bull sharks.
Yeah, the bull sharks.
They like French.
Doesn't want to get hit by a skiff either. Seven goes round, and Budgie no more than 2 boat lengths, so a good run for him.
I'm just looking further up the harbour, and I can see Rag and Famish up there, Mark. I reckon he's crawled back to about maybe 12th.
Yeah, if he could get top 10, he'd see that as a victory, wouldn't he, considering where he was. But he's not going to win today's race, so it's one of these 5's going to win it. So Trevor Barnabas, Fisher Bakel goes round in 3rd. Not a bad run for him either. He's squeezed up to the leading group.
And look at young Evan Walker. He's rolled the dice. He's going back the other way.
He's going the other way to split it up a little bit. And that very good run from him. So he's in a solid 4th. And Michael Coxon is our 5th place boat coming in here. Flat chat. He's going to want to try and avoid Evan. This is a port starboard, of course. The blue boat that sailed the blue boats has got full rights here. So Coco will just have to roll the top, which he does. He'll be taking the left-hand mark as he looks downwind. I'm pretty sure about that. And he's going to try and get himself back into something like 3rd or 4th. That would be
it's his challenge.
Victory. Drops the kite.
Not out of the question either, because the distance between these front 5 just go up and down.
Yeah, but I think Cockey's now going to, as he goes around that mark and tries to avoid Christophe in the water, which he does, in his sights you see Seven, the leading boat. Well, Seven doesn't look that far ahead anymore, does
he? Doesn't.
You look at that, you'd think, hello, this is on, this is game on, that's doable. He's got an up and a down, as you said, he's sailing with the JJ winning crew from last year, who made this course almost a speciality all their own, so he's got the right guys on board.
Yes, he has. And
it's doable.
Boy, and you bet your life Coco won't follow them, I wouldn't think. He might buy a bit more of that east.
So a long way to go still. Still an up and a down on these conditions. There's probably a good 30 to 40 minutes sailing. we'll keep an eye on this leading group as we go upwind.
Just up the beat for the last time, and another development. Trevor Barnabas stayed out in the centre, got a nice lane of breeze, came down to him, and he just put Project back. Gotta love it, just sneaking up the inside, still leading, but this is really compressed up
really
now.
Tight, isn't it? So this is the last beat of this race, and there's not a lot between these top three. There's 7 just crossing ahead, and 7 will get across Fisher and Paykel, but not by a lot. It's just the odd boat length between the 3 of them. Seb is not on starboard ley line, but he's not a million miles away from it. It's not a lot more space on port tack to go here.
I'll tell you this much, Trevor will really love to win this race. He's come back from retirement to sail in another Giltinan, and it's just fantastic for him to jag one, and he's given himself every shot here. So
He's great, isn't he? He's very renowned as a heavy air sailor, but not so much in the light and tricky stuff, but he's doing a great job today. David starboard ley line on today, and we'll like it up here, so 7's carrying on. I think they might come back this way in a little bit. I think all the best breeze is right on the starboard ley line, as long as you don't go so far in that you end up running out of breeze on the beach. But this seems Fisher and Paykel's line is pretty good, and Project 1 with Andy Budgeon's got a nice line, bit of a nice little right hand puff happening off to the right hand side. There's Fisher and Paykel, your camera there, Simon. She's got just a little bit more pressure than 7, I reckon there, Bob. There's just a bit more breeze on this side, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a little vein here.
He will start to look over his shoulder slightly nervously, pull the odd neck muscle.
Well, he's got to just wait till he gets something to come back on, isn't he?
Yeah, he needs something to come back on. He's still got a lead. I mean, he still is leading, but not by much. Fisher and Paykel puts a bow up, and all of a sudden she's not leading anymore.
Look at Budgie.
Nothing between these 3.
Go here.
Oh, I mean, any one of these 3 could get around this first mark first. All depends which way the ship goes towards the end, but I think if you could be, you'd want to be in the right-hand lane, which is where Budgie is. We'll see how it develops further up.
Yeah, the Budge.
Here we're at the top of the beat for the last time, and last time we saw you saw 7 in the left-hand lane, looking for the left-hand shift. Well, it never came, is the bad news for them, and you can see this side of them, closer to where we are off the camera, Budgie, who got that right-hand lane, and those little right-hand shifts that we've been seeing really all day. We've only ever seen right-handers at this top mark. He hooked into one of those. It's a little surprising that 7 split and allowed that to happen, but it is one of those kind of days. Easy to overtack and overthink the problem, and I think 7 were trying to keep it simple, but unfortunately Budgie stuck to his guns, got the right-hand lane, got the right-hand ley line, and he's done a fantastic job. He's probably a minute clear here, Bob.
He's the smiling assassin, I think we're going to call him from now on. He just keeps that crazy little smile. He's a very happy boy, isn't he?
He is, he's staying at it.
There he goes. He's got a big sniff of this now. He's only got to get down there.
Exactly, and with that right-hand shift, the jibe set becomes a pretty easy decision, so he's done it. And he's got a little bit of a lane down there to leeward, so he's got a nice little lead in these conditions, and if this breeze holds, you'd fancy him to defend that. Well, but Trevor's been doing some good work down these runs as well, so it's not over yet. It's
not over until the fat lady sings, we know that for sure, and Sebby's going to be throwing all sorts of jibes at them to try and close this gap up.
Certainly is. So there's Trevor Barnabas' second round, and the 7 crew are just about to come around here in 3rd. Pretty disappointing last part of the beat. They served the first part of the beat beautifully and actually got a proper lead on Budgie. It's re-established, but they just didn't defend the right hard enough, and they let Budgie have a sniff of it, and he took it with both hands.
So he's given himself a shot at Trevor straight up, and here comes Evan Walker. Great performance by them today.
Yeah, he's
and in the distance
well,
you can see Michael Coxon, who should take. Oh, hang on, Panasonic's come up into this mark. See the boat to leeward.
But Coco has got again that starboard ley line, which is the all-powerful place to have at his top mark. So I think Coco is going to hold on to his 5th. But at the moment he's not making a lot of headway into getting a 4th place, and with Budgie ends up with a 1st, that's going to be a 3-point spread to Andy Budgeon.
Yes, it is. So let's see what happens. We'll get up there and take him across the line for you. So we're caught up to our leading pack, and got a Project's just holding on to it, but look at the chasing pack. If you come left, Simon, you've got Fisher and Paykel, 7 desperately trying to roll over the top of Trevor, and Evan Walker's guys on there. They're just jibing off. They're the attack boat, and they've got nothing to lose and would love to get on the podium today. But Project's lead under a bit of threat here. Sebby's going to keep rolling down that shore. So Project has to watch Fisher and Paykel and Caldwell Banker Sharks tack off him or jibe off him. So the heat comes on Project again.
Yeah, it's tough. He's got his main rival going the same way as him, which he's sort of pleased about, but the bad news is the other two have split from him, so he can't cover both sides. But this is about the same place that Budgie made his big gain on the last run. He kind of hooked to just a nice little bit of pressure just off Nielsen, and I think he's kind of hoping the same's going to happen here again.
It's a bit of a hope.
It is a bit of a hope, isn't it? So he's a bit bow up and a bit light right now, but he's probably going to have to decide enough's enough of that. He doesn't want to give the opposition any more leverage than he's already done. Hope that he gets a bit of breeze to drive out with, but today is a day where these leads are not safe at all.
Certainly aren't, and gotta love it. It's picked up some pressure which Budgie doesn't have, and he's rolling forward. It's weather. Budgie now got his bow down.
Now he's got a really good bow down for Project 1 and Andy Budgeon right now. All of a sudden he's low and fast on 7, but out to the left, Simon, if you just pan left a little bit, you'll see Fisher and Paykel. Right now, Fisher and Paykel's quite possibly the leading boat on the water. Totally depends where the next shift comes from. There's nothing between these four. A little bit like the last race of the last JJ, Bob, isn't it? All came down to the last 50 metres. This race could be exactly the same. It's not for the overall championship, but this race in itself could be very important.
Copy almost, isn't it?
Oh, very close indeed.
Ooh, Project's just taking some waves on there that knocked a bit of pace off.
So there's Sevi jives. I think Sevi was worried he couldn't actually get to Fisher and Paykel, Trevor Barnabas there, so very little between those two, so they're kind of back where they were before they started their jive fest. Andy Budgeon very relieved to cross ahead of all of these three boats. Takes a bit of dirty air by doing that, but he'll establish himself in the lure position, jive in the lure position, which is a nice place to defend from. And he's mostly thinking about 7 here, I think. He's prepared to let Fisher and Paykel go if he has to, because he's not in the overall lead.
And Trevor's gone back the other way.
Trevor's split, so that's made that decision easy, but he's going back the way that he likes to go, and that side, the Nielsen side, and of course he's got 7, shepherding 7 the same way, and Michael Coxon in the distance, who might be just coming to enjoy the party a little bit as well.
Sir. Well, that's the thing. We saw Coco going to the finish yesterday, and he dropped about 4 or 5 positions on the last beat, but as soon as the boats are heading towards the finishing line, they all zone in on the target, and they don't care who's in the way of them. They just knock you over, and you cannot defend against everybody. All the attacks come at you, and there's Coco jibing out the back of these. He's in their line, but he's what, 150 metres?
Closed up, isn't he? Definitely closed up into them, no question about that.
And look at Sevi and Budgie here.
Budgie won't be enjoying this at all. He's going to have to jibe out of that. He just didn't get the same puff that 7 had, and he got a couple of waves. He doesn't really want to split, but he's going to have to split there. He can't let 7 roll him and take his air, so he jibes. And right now, Project 1 and 7 are fully bow to bow. There's nothing between those two boats now.
I've got to tell you, Fisher and Paykel is split off on his own there, and I think he's leading this race, Mark.
Wow, well, that's all going to happen. We might, we'll just toddle down to the bottom and see how this develops. But right now, if you're a betting man, you wouldn't know which way to place your bet.
Anybody can get this. Gotta love it. So even now got his bow down with a nice bit of pressure. He's still lured. He could. Anyway, I'm not going to say anything. We'll just let the finish line decide it. See you down there. Here's the action of the day right here, folks. The white chute of Michael Coxon has just put the heat. He's probably in front of these 2 leaders, Mark, but don't forget we've got Trevor Barnabas coming in hot, and I think he's closer to the finish line than any of them.
Yeah, it's super close here. This is the last 100 metres into the race. For the lovers of light air racing, this is just a fantastic light air race. These 5 have been battling all day. Trevor Barnabas looks like he's going to come out the winner in this. The rest of the boats, that's 7 and Budgie, have been having a dogfight all the way down here, sailing nowhere near their optimum angles, just trying to defend in match race style their piece of water. Trevor's ignored all that, sailed good angles, and guess what? He's popped through. It's looking like he's going to get a win here. And Michael Coxon, as you said, has come out of nowhere, sailing with, of course, the perfect crew for these kind of conditions.
The comeback kids.
We think Coco could end up, but he's overtaken 7, unbelievably. He's crossed 7.
And he's going to get second.
I think he's going to get second, because I don't think Budgie will be able to will cross him on port when he jibes back. So Coco, 5th all day, 5th and 6th, and a very distant one, will think that his Christmas has come very early with this.
So there's the winner of Heat 3 of the Giltinan, none other than Trevor Barnabas.
Trevor Barnabas goes in 1. Coco is going to get second. Budgie's going to have to work hard to make sure he gets a 3rd. 7 has every chance of dropping all the way down to 5th. That will be a shocker for them if that happens. Here comes Coco crossing in second. He will be extremely pleased with that. There he goes, second place, Michael Coxon.
Well done, boys.
Fantastic, look at the
They're
elation
not
there.
happy.
What a fantastic comeback from these boys.
The comeback kids.
And there's a bit of work to do. Budgie's still got to cross the line. Seven's coming in here at pace. It looks like Budgie's going to do it. I think
Coco's crew are delirious.
Seven might just get the fourth place, you know. Yeah, Seven got fourth, I think, so in the end it wasn't all a disaster. They didn't drop all the way to fifth, but they won't be happy seeing Michael Coxon pop through like that.
That was just amazing. Coco, once again, gave himself a major shot. He was under no pressure to try it, and came out trumps, got a second. Wow.
Great finish, interesting race, and shakes it all up. Well, of course, there's now a discard after this race, but it's too complex to work out here on the water. Tomorrow, at the beginning of the race, we'll work it all out for you, tell you where they all stand, but one thing's for sure, Coco will have a big smile on his face tonight. Seven will be looking a bit grim. Budgie, the smiling assassin, will be quietly content.
Yes, I think so, and the next boat on the course, if he can get across the bow of this Manly Ferry, who's got him lined up beautifully, is Panasonic, Jono Whitty. And these are the sort of days we know that Jono can excel in. He's quite a light crew. Haven't seen a lot from him this year, but he sniffed this one out well. So where does that put him? Sixth on the...
Sixth position. This is, yeah, sixth place coming down here.
Panasonic Lumix. Good job, those guys. And Johnny Winning's taking the stern of the Manly Ferry. Be happy about that. And he could be in the 6, 7, 8. He could be 8th. Slam's going to get 7th. So, wow, it's never over to the fat lady sings, Mark, is it?
No, great, really interesting race this one. I think the only people who've really fallen out of it today is Rag and Famish. They did make a bit of a comeback at the end of the second lap around, but unfortunately they rolled the dice on that last beat off to the left, and I'm afraid the right was where they needed to go, and they fell right back to where they were. So Rag have had a day that they'd love to forget, but unfortunately they can't forget it because the discards for them's already come in.
Yeah, it'll count.
So that's Rag really out of the running for this championship. That's probably the main news of today's race. Otherwise, our main contenders have all delivered where it matters.
Okay, so I think that's a wrap for us, isn't it, Mark?
I think it is. I think we've seen all the best action. We'll try and give you a good sum up tomorrow to let you know where it all stands after that.
Yeah, so we're back out on the water tomorrow. See you then. Bye for now.